I want to speak today not as a president, not as a soldier, not as a man of power, but as a human being standing in front of a story so heavy that it bends the spine of pride and shatters the illusion of control. I've read many stories of courage. I have studied revolutions. I have seen sacrifice on battlefields and in broken nations. But there is one story that silences every excuse a man makes for his fear, and that is the story of Prophet Ibrahim, peace be upon him. This is not a story you read and forget. This is a story that looks back at you, questions you, exposes you, and asks one simple question: how strong is your faith when everything you love is placed on the altar of obedience? When I first reflected on the life of Ibrahim, I did not see a prophet only. I saw a man who stood alone when loneliness itself became an enemy. I saw a man who questioned falsehood when it was safer to stay silent. I saw a man who broke idols not only made of stone, but idols built inside the human heart: fear, attachment, ego, and the need for approval. And I asked myself, would I have stood the same way if I were in his place? Or would I have chosen comfort over truth? Ibrahim was born into a world where lies were inherited like family names. His own father carved idols with his hands and sold them to people who bowed before lifeless stone. Imagine the weight of that contradiction. To know the truth while the man who raised you profits from falsehood. Many people today say they cannot speak because their family will reject them, because society will laugh at them, because power will crush them. Ibrahim had every excuse to stay quiet, yet he spoke. He did not shout. He did not insult. He questioned. He asked with intelligence, with dignity, with calm certainty. He asked his people why they worshipped what could neither hear nor respond, what could neither protect nor guide. And when his questions were met with anger instead of answers, he did not retreat. This is where faith begins, not when belief is convenient, but when it costs you safety. Ibrahim's faith did not grow in comfort, it grew in fire. And yes, I say fire intentionally, because when he shattered the idols and exposed the lie, his people did not debate him, they sentenced him. They built a fire so massive that even the birds could not fly near it. This was not symbolic fire. This was real, consuming, public punishment meant to erase him and make an example out of his courage. And yet, Ibrahim did not beg. He did not negotiate. He did not say, "Let me compromise a little to survive." He trusted. He surrendered. He was thrown into the fire not knowing how he would survive, only knowing who he trusted. That moment shakes me to my core, because how many of us claim faith but panic when the smallest flame touches our comfort? How many of us say, we trust God but demand guarantees before we take a step? Ibrahim walked into the unknown with certainty, not in outcomes, but in obedience. And the fire, which was meant to destroy him, became cool and peaceful. Not because fire lost its nature, but because when divine will intervenes, even the laws of the universe bow. This teaches me something brutal and beautiful. At the same time, faith is not about controlling life. It is about surrendering to the one who controls it. We live in an age obsessed with control. Control over people, control over narratives, control over power. Ibrahim had none of that. He had faith, and faith proved stronger than fire. But the test of Ibrahim did not end there. Trials do not end when you pass one test. They evolve. They become deeper. They touch what you love most. After years of patience, after longing, after prayer, Ibrahim was blessed with a son. Anyone who understands the weight of delayed blessings knows how precious that child must have been to him. This was not just a son. This was hope fulfilled, love incarnate, a future given flesh. And then came the command that breaks the strongest hearts, to sacrifice that very son. I pause here because this is where words fail and only reflection speaks. Imagine being asked to give up the very thing you begged for. Imagine being asked to place your greatest love on the line, not because it is wrong, but because your faith is being tested. Many people misunderstand this story because they look at it through fear instead of faith. This was not cruelty, this was clarity. This was a test of whether love for the Creator stands above. For creation, Ibrahim did not rush. He did not act in madness. He spoke to his son with honesty, with respect, with love. And his son, raised in faith, responded not with rebellion but with submission. That moment humbles me more than any battlefield. 2 generations standing together in obedience, not forced, not coerced, but willingly aligned with divine command. Where today do we see such unity of faith and purpose as Ibrahim prepared to act? Every human emotion must have screamed inside him. This is what makes his story real. Faith does not erase pain. Faith gives meaning to pain. He did not stop feeling. He transcended feeling. And at the moment of ultimate surrender, when obedience reached its peak, the sacrifice was replaced. Mercy descended, life was spared. And the message was delivered for all time. God does not desire blood, He desires submission. This story forces me to confront myself. It forces leaders, nations, and individuals to ask uncomfortable questions. What idols do we refuse to break? What fires are we afraid to enter? What sacrifices are we unwilling to make? We talk about faith as if it is decoration, but Ibrahim shows us that faith is transformation. It strips you, tests you, humbles you, and then elevates you. When I reflect on Ibrahim's journey, I realize that true leadership is born from submission, not dominance. Ibrahim did not rule nations with armies, yet his legacy rules hearts across centuries. He did not build palaces, yet his name is spoken with reverence by billions. That is power beyond politics. That is authority beyond weapons. And I say this with full awareness of my own position in this world. If faith does not shape our courage, our leadership becomes hollow. If belief does not guide our sacrifices, our victories become meaningless. Ibrahim teaches us that standing alone for truth is better than standing with the crowd or falsehood. He teaches us that obedience to God is not weakness, it is the highest form of strength. This is only the beginning of what this story awakens inside me. The deeper I reflect, the more I realize that the test of Ibrahim is not a story of the past. It is a mirror held up to every generation. And the question it asks has not changed. I realize that this was not only a test of belief, it was a lifelong training of the soul. Faith in his life was not a moment. It was a journey carved by patience, isolation, migration, loss, and unwavering trust. Many people think faith is proven once, but Ibrahim teaches us that faith must be proven again and again at every stage of life, when the stakes are higher and the heart is more attached. Ibrahim was not rooted to one land. He was commanded to leave, to migrate, to walk away from familiarity. Leaving your home is not easy. Leaving your people is not easy. Leaving certainty behind is one of the hardest tests for any human being. And yet Ibrahim moved not because he understood every step, but because he trusted the one who commanded him. This teaches me something that modern leadership often forgets. Progress sometimes demands separation, and growth often requires departure from what feels safe. There is a loneliness that comes with choosing truth. When you walk a path that few understand, silence becomes your companion. Ibrahim experienced that silence. He did not have crowds cheering him. He did not have armies defending him. He had conviction, and conviction carried him farther than any force could. This speaks directly to my heart, because leadership without conviction is nothing but position, and position without faith collapses the moment pressure arrives. Ibrahim's life shows us that faith does not remove responsibility, it increases it. When he was entrusted with rebuilding the sacred house alongside his and it was not a task of power but of humility. Stone by stone, hand by hand, he built not a monument to himself, but a place of devotion for humanity. And even then, he did not claim success. He prayed that his efforts be accepted. That humility shakes me. How often do we complete tasks and demand recognition, while Ibrahim completed divine work and still asked for acceptance? This is the difference between ego and faith. Ego seeks applause. Faith seeks approval from the unseen. Ibrahim never sought to be remembered, yet he became unforgettable. His name became synonymous with surrender, patience, and obedience. This tells me that legacy is not built by force, but by alignment with truth. When I reflect on the title often given to Ibrahim, a friend of God, I understand that friendship here is not comfort, it is trust. True friendship is tested in hardship. And Ibrahim's friendship with his Creator was tested through fire, separation, sacrifice, and waiting. Years of waiting, waiting without bitterness, waiting without doubt, waiting while the world around him continued in its noise. That kind of patience is not passive, it is active faith. In today's world, we are impatient with everything. We want instant results, instant change, instant justice. But Ibrahim teaches us that divine timing is precise, not delayed. What we call delay is preparation. What we call silence is protection. What we call loss is often redirection. This perspective changes how I see struggle, not as punishment, but as refinement. There is another lesson that stays with me deeply. Ibrahim never allowed his faith to turn into arrogance, even when he was proven right, even when the fire did not harm him, even when his obedience was rewarded. He did not say, "I was right and they were wrong." He remained grounded. This is critical. Faith without humility becomes another idol. Ibrahim destroyed idols outside, but he also destroyed the idol within, the ego that demands superiority. I ask myself, and I ask every leader, every individual listening, are we willing to break the idols inside us? The idol of pride, the idol of fear, the idol of status, the idol of attachment to what we cannot keep forever. Ibrahim's story does not allow us to escape these questions. It confronts us directly. His life also teaches us that faith must be passed on, not imposed. The way he spoke to his son shows dialogue, respect, and shared belief. This is how values survive generations, not through force but through example. When belief is lived honestly, it transfers naturally. This is why Ibrahim's legacy did not die with him. It multiplied. When I look at the world today, divided, confused, fearful, I see how desperately we need the spirit of Ibrahim. A spirit that stands firm without hatred, a spirit that obeys without arrogance, a spirit that sacrifices without despair. This is not weakness, this is moral strength. And moral strength outlives every empire. Ibrahim reminds me that true success is not measured by how much we control, but by how sincerely we submit. The world celebrates domination, but faith celebrates surrender. And surrender, when directed toward the truth, becomes liberation. As I continue to reflect, I understand something profound. The test of Ibrahim is not about fire or sacrifice alone. It is about trust when logic ends. It is about obedience when explanations are absent. It is about faith when outcomes are unknown. And this is where most people retreat. Ibrahim advanced. The story does not belong to history. It belongs to now. Every generation is tested differently, but the essence remains the same. Will we choose comfort or conviction? Will we bow O idols of convenience, or stand with truth? Will we trust only when it is easy, or also when it is painful? I am still reflecting. I am still learning. And the deeper I go, the heavier this story becomes, not as a burden, but as a responsibility. Because once you understand the test of Ibrahim, you cannot live the same way again. This is something that challenges everything we are taught in the modern world. We are taught to accumulate, to hold tighter, to protect our interests at all costs. Ibrahim teaches the opposite. He teaches that real strength is revealed in release, not possession. That faith is proven not by what you claim, but by what you surrender. There is a moment in Ibrahim's life that stays with me in silence. Not because it is dramatic, but because it is quiet. After all the trials, after fire, after migration, after sacrifice, Ibrahim continues to pray. He continues to ask, not for power, not for dominance, but for guidance, righteousness, and continuity of values. This shows me that faith is not exhausted by hardship. Faith deepens through it. When trials end, arrogance often begins in people. With Ibrahim, humility increased. This makes me reflect on leadership in our time. Many leaders rise through struggle, but once they reach the top, they forget the values that carried them there. Ibrahim never forgot. His obedience was not situational, it was consistent. Whether alone or supported, whether tested or rewarded, his alignment with truth did not change. That kind of consistency is rare, and it is the reason his name carries weight across centuries. Another lesson that strikes me deeply is that Ibrahim never allowed bitterness to grow in his heart. Imagine being rejected by your own people, threatened with death, forced to leave your homeland, misunderstood at every turn. Many would grow angry, many would grow resentful. Ibrahim did not. His heart remained clean. He prayed even for those who opposed him,